Hello there, fourth graders. In today's math lesson, I'm going to do today's Chapter 3 practice test with you. So go ahead, take out your piece of scratch paper and do all the work with me as we do today's practice test together. So here's what that Chapter 3 practice test looks like. And the first question here, we won't need our scratch paper for because it's a vocabulary question. It says, the blank property of multiplication states that the grouping of factors does not change the product. So remember, when it says the grouping of factors, it means in parentheses. So an example of the property of multiplication that it's talking about could look something like this. 3 times 2 in parentheses times 7 equals the same thing as 3 times 2 times 7 with the 2 and the 7 in parentheses. See, on both sides of the equal sign, it's 3 times 2 times 7, 3 times 2 times 7, but on this side, the 3 and the 2 are in parentheses, and on this side, the 2 and the 7 are in parentheses. So which numbers are in parentheses changed, but the numbers being multiplied didn't change. And so you can change how the numbers are grouped in parentheses, but it doesn't change the answer. Either way, this equals 42 because 3 times 2 is 6. Then we multiply that times 7. That equals 42. Here, 2 times 7 is 14. And we multiply that times 3, and that equals 42. So it equals 42 on each side of the equal sign, no matter which way you put the numbers in parentheses. And that's called, see if you can tell me what the correct answer is. Is it the commutative property of multiplication, the associative property of multiplication, the identity property of multiplication, or the zero property of multiplication? If you said associative property of multiplication, you got it right. So that's the correct answer right there, the associative property of multiplication. The next one, the blank property of multiplication states that the order in which two numbers are multiplied does not change the product. So here's an example of that. 6 times 10 equals 10 times 6. It doesn't matter if you put the 6 first or the 10 first. When you're multiplying 6 times 10, it equals 60 either way. Look at these. It's either the commutative, associative, identity, or zero property of multiplication. Choose which one you think is the correct answer in your mind. In fact, go ahead and say it out loud. If you said the commutative property of multiplication, you got it correct. That's the commutative property of multiplication. You can change the order in which numbers are multiplied, but it doesn't change the product. To blank a number is to break it down into its factors. So here's an example of that, like the number 12 can be broken down into the factors 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Those are all the factors. So you can break down 12 as 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 or 3 times 4. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. So that's decomposing a number. That's this vocab here. Decomposing a number is breaking it down into its factors. Hold that thought for just 1 second. Mr. Dauber speaking. I don't have Aiden. He should be at PE right now. Okay, thanks. Bye. Can I talk to you about that soon? I'm in the middle of recording a video right now. But I will make sure that I fill that out for you, and you got all of your stars. Okay, in a division problem, the blank is the number that is being divided into parts. Is it the divisor, the dividend, the quotient, or the addend? So let's just do a simple example of a division problem. 8 divided by 4 equals 2. So that's 8 cookies divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Divided into equal groups of 4. So here's one group of 4. Here's another group of 4. We can get 2 groups of 4 out of 8. That's why 8 divided by 4 equals 2. The number that's being divided into parts here is the 8, and that's the dividend. So if you chose dividend there, you got that one correct. And then in a division problem, the blank is the number that divides into the dividend. So here, that's the 4, and that's called the divisor. The dividend is divided by the divisor. So divisor is the answer to this one. And then a blank is a group of 4 related facts that use the same 3 numbers. So an example of that would be 2, 3, and 6, because 2 times 3 equals 6, 3 times 2 equals 6, 6 divided by 3 equals 2, and 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So the same 3 numbers can be used to make 2 multiplication problems and 2 division problems. And notice that the answer, the product, it doesn't move for both multiplication problems, and whatever that answer is, it goes all the way to the left and becomes the dividend for both division problems. And that's called a fact family. So that's the correct answer there. A fact family is a group of 4 related facts that use the same 3 numbers. And then a blank is a number that is multiplied by another number. So for instance, 3 times 4 equals 12. 3 and 4 are both factors because they're multiplied together to get the product of 12, and that's a factor. So a factor is a number that's multiplied by another number. The blank property of multiplication says that any number times itself equals itself. An example of that, 8 times 1 equals 8, and that makes sense because 8 times 1 means 8 one time, and the 8 one time would just be 8. And that's the identity property of multiplication. The identity property of multiplication states that any number times 1 equals itself. Blank are numbers you say when you are counting by a number. So for instance, if you're counting by 6s, it would be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, and so on. They go on forever. And what are those called? Those are called multiples. Multiples are numbers you say when you are counting by a number. A blank is the answer to a multiplication problem. That's the product. So factor times factor equals product. A blank is the answer to a division problem. That's the quotient. A quotient is the answer to a division problem. And then the blank property of multiplication states that any number times 0 equals 0. So an example of that, 13 times 0 equals 0. Anything times 0 equals 0 because 13 times 0 means 13 0 times. Well, if you have 13 cupcakes 0 times, that's the same thing as saying that you have 0 cupcakes. And that's called the 0 property of multiplication. Okay, we're through with the vocab now. I'm going to turn this over so I have lots of room to do each of these problems. And the first one says, choose the correct fact family for the numbers below. So let's first make that fact family on our times table chart. The fact family for 3, 7, and 21, the first one would be 3 times 7 equals 21. Well, if it's true that 3 times 7 equals 21, it also has to be true that 7 times 3 equals 21. And remember, whatever the product is, it stays in the same place for both multiplication facts, and it goes all the way to the left and becomes the dividend for both division facts. So that 21 for both of the division facts has to be all the way to the left. 21 divided by 7 equals 3, and 21 divided by 3 equals 7. Once you see that pattern there, fact families become really easy to make. So we just have to find the one that says that. 3 times 7 equals 21. 21 times 7 equals 3. That's not right. 7 times 3 equals 21. 3 times 7 equals 21. 3 divided by 7 equals 21? No. 3 times 7 equals 21. 7 times 3 equals 21. 21 divided by 7 equals 3. And 21 divided by 3 equals 7. That's the correct answer right there. Then it says solve 42 divided by 7. So we'd set that up like this. Let's box off the work we did for this one. 42 divided by 7. You can use your times table chart to see how many times 7 can fit into 42. All you have to do is go to the 7, get as close to 42 as you can without going over. In this case, we can get all the way to 42. We go straight up. It fits in exactly 6 times. So we don't put that 6 here above the 4 because 7 isn't going into 4. We put it here above the 2 because 7 is going all the way into 42. So we put the 6 right here. Now 6 times 7 equals 42, and 42 minus 42 equals 0. There's no remainder because 7 can fit into 42 exactly 6 times, since 7 times 6 equals 42. So you click right here, and you put a 6 right there. You type 6. Then 56 divided by 8. You build your den. The dividend goes in the den. The divisor goes outside, sir. 8 cannot fit into 5 because 8's bigger than 5, so nothing goes above the 5. But 8 can fit into 56. And look, if you don't know that 8 times 7 equals 56, you can find that out right here by going to the 8, getting as close to 56 as you can without going over, and it fits in exactly 7 times. So 8 can fit into 56 7 times, and 7 times 8 is 56. 56 minus 56 is 0. So you click right here and you type a 7 there. Then solve 36 divided by 9. And again, you don't even really need to use your scratch paper because 36 is a multiple of 9. And if you look and see what times 9 equals 36, it's 4. So since 9 times 4 equals 36, 36 divided by 9 has to equal 4. So that's what goes right here, a 4. Choose the multiplication sentence that matches 5 times as many as 3. 5 times as many as 3. So you have 3, and if you want to show 5 times as many as 3 or 5 times more than 3, you just multiply 3 times 5. You could also show it as 5 times 3, because remember the commutative property says you can change the order of numbers when you're multiplying, and it doesn't change the answer. So that's this one right here. 3 times 5 equals 15. What property is shown by this equation? Okay, look at that. We already went over this, and we already took notes on it on our scratch paper. In this lesson, what property is shown here? Well, it's the property that says you can change the order of numbers when you're multiplying and it doesn't change the product. That's the commutative property of multiplication. Which property is shown by this equation? Remember, the property that says that you can change how numbers are grouped in parentheses when you're multiplying and it doesn't change the product. That's the associative property of multiplication, which shows all the factors of 16. Okay, so let's list the factors of 16. First of all, how many different ways can you get 16 as the answer to a multiplication problem? Well, there's 1 times 16, that equals 16. There's 2 times 8, and there's 4 times 4. So that means the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. So that's what we look for here. 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. That's the very first one, so you check that. Which shows the first 5 multiples of 12. All we're having to do is find the one that shows the first 5 numbers you say when you're counting by 12s, and those are all on your times table chart. So you just go over here to the 12s, and all these are counting by 12s. 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. Those are the first 5 right there. So that's what we're looking for over here. 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. So that's the answer right there. Next, there are 8 cans of soup. There are 3 times, and I'm gonna switch this to eyeball version so I'm seeing it the same way you're seeing it, so I can highlight, because I want to go over how to highlight parts of a word problem to help you get it correct. So there are 8 cans of soup. So there are 3 times as many cans of vegetables. How many cans of vegetables are there? Remember, anytime you're doing a word problem, highlight the important parts, and that means highlight the numbers with their units and the question. So you should highlight 8 cans of soup. You just highlight it and you click on a color. And then 3 times as many cans of vegetables. And then you highlight the question. How many cans of vegetables are there? Okay. Now that kind of takes out the unimportant parts. Now we're just focused on the important parts. 8 cans of soup, 3 times as many cans of vegetables. That's 8 times 3, or 3 times more than 8. and that equals 24. So there's 24 cans of vegetables. Next, Rosemary, Adelaide, and Marigold want to share the shells they collected at the beach evenly. There are 18 shells total. How many shells will each get to take home? So if there's 18 shells total, and we want to make them each take the same amount home, that means, and there's 3 of them. Actually, first of all, let's talk about what parts do we highlight. You'd want to highlight 18 shells total. You'd want to highlight the fact that there's 3 girls, Rosemary, Adelaide, and Marigold. And then, how many shells will they each take home? That's the question. So it might seem like, hey, this only gives us one number, 18. No, it also gives you the number 3 because there's 3 girls. And the 18 shells are being split up evenly between those 3 girls. So anytime you're splitting something up evenly, you're dividing it into parts, which means you're dividing. How many parts are we dividing it into? We're dividing it into 3 parts. So in order to know what 18 divided by 3 is, all you have to do is think what times 3 equals 18. And you can look on your times table chart for that if you don't already know that it's 6. So you go to the 3, you go to 18, and you go straight up. It's 6. So 18 divided by 3 equals 6. So Rosemary, Adelaide, and Marigold each get to take home 6 shells. So you click on that right there, that's 6. That's 6 shells each. Okay, go ahead, turn this in, press submit, and get 100% on it because I gave you all of the answers. But remember, your scratch paper should also look exactly like mine to show that you did all the work with me and you didn't just watch the video to find out what the answers were. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this practice test and hopefully it really prepared you for the real test, which is tomorrow. And I will catch you next time. Mr. Dauber, signing off.